So
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Paul. What is your perception of ministry now that you've been in it for this long? What does ministry look like? What did it look like when you first started, you and your wife? And now that you're getting ready to hop in this RV and leave town for a little while, as you normally do, what does ministry look like?
Boy, ministry is not really what you do ever. Ministry is who you are. It's a matter of well, some people call it a ministry of presence. You're there, and God brings you people, circumstances, situations. It may be as varied as I was just talking to my regional boss. He came up and he spoke at camp. I was just telling him how that earlier in the summer, this young couple, they bought this house for $25,000, and they've been trying to get on it. And a friend of mine, my realtor, she put them in contact with me and said, this guy could probably do that for you. So we were looking at it, and the floor, actually I'd looked at it, but I wasn't serious about buying it. But the floor in the bathroom was sagging.
Yeah.
It had rotted over where the tub had been underneath the window, and the window would just leak the water from the shower down the wall and rot out the floor and everything underneath there. And so that whole section had just sagged. So I went in there and I jacked it up. Actually, the middle of the house had kind of sagged a bit as well, just over time. So we jacked that up, and then we got the bathroom floor. So the house is now pretty well level. And then they talking about what they're going to do about it. I said, get rid of those two closets and move the tub on the other side, and get it away from that window. And so, you got to move the plumbing and stuff. And I says, well, plumbing moves. That's not that hard. So guess who gets to do the plumbing now? Of course. So of course. So because they've been waiting to do this for so long, it's just been not happening. So I get home on Friday from camp, and Saturday then I'm in there doing their plumbing in their basement. So I still have that to do. I was telling, I still have that to do yet. Let me get some. I got to get a fan going. Okay. Here. So if you want that on audio, then you'll have to follow me around.
It's all good. I love it.
Get this in here. So they had. I was just telling my boss, just ministry stories, and I want to. It makes me think I want to just start collecting them.
Yes.
Call the book. This is ministry.
Yes.
And
did I just now hear the beginning, the birth of an idea?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. The name of the book is going to be called
This is Ministry.
This is Ministry by Paul Fry.
And we will see what it looks like, but it's just going to be a compilation, if I can do it. It'll be a compilation of different veteran people in ministry who have been at it for a number of years, and their stories. Some of them will be heart-wrenching, and just the opportunity that they've had to be there. That's ministry, is being there. And somewhere along in here, I'm not sure how that was.
That's it. That's it.
And just to be present. And in that, some of them are funny stories. This one old lady, she calls me when I was out in Oregon, and the only connection I had to this woman was our youth She was a neighbor to one of the people in our church.
Yeah.
And so they had a ministry in her life, but they had a ministry in her life, and I'm going to swipe all the cool. And so we came over to her house, and rake leaves.
Yeah.
So we had with the youth. So we had that connection, and then my boys had been over as a result of that. They came over and done some helped her clean out stuff in her garage.
Nice.
And so at 2:00 in the morning, one time, I don't know, maybe a few weeks after that or a month or so after that, after the boys had been there, she calls me up 2:00 in the morning, and just distraught as anything. Can you come bury my dog? bury your dog at 2:00 in the morning? Wow.
That sounds like Andy Griffin. A little bit. If that's not Andy Griffin, I wouldn't.
It is, and so here she is. She's just beside herself. And can you come bury my dog? And so where is it? It's on the kitchen floor.
It just collapsed.
It had just died. I don't know, fell asleep in its sleep or something. But she knew that it had died, and at 2:00 in the morning found it. Maybe she went up to go to the bathroom, but there it was, laying there on the kitchen floor, all dead. And she says, "It's in the kitchen floor." And so I said, "Well, why don't I come over? We'll move her into the garage." Old dog. It was an old dog. It was an old dog. And move it into the garage, and then we'll bury it, in the morning. She says, "All right." So we went over there, and we visited and prayed with her, and she was just, she's an old lady living by herself, and her dog was her companion, and it finally died. When your old animal dies, it brings you face to face with your own mortality. The fact of the matter is I'm old, and one of these days somebody's going to come into my kitchen and find me laying there on the floor all dead. And just an opportunity to share with her the reality of meeting your Maker.
The reality of finality.
Yes.
Earthly finality.
Yeah.
And let me ask you a question. Did you, no doubt you took the opportunity to share the gospel if she didn't know it. But let me ask you a question. In your years of ministry, what does eternity look like? What does the other side looks like? Even though you've not been there, but you've experienced a situation like that and others. I don't know how many funerals you've ever been to.
I only did one.
You did one?
I did one just recently. That was another ministry story. That was the last thing I wanted to do. I've always managed to avoid funerals. I can do weddings, and I try to avoid weddings. I'm not a pastor, so I shouldn't be having to do this, daggone it. So here I am. It is the only. I am the only religious, spiritual connect that these people have. And we've been over to her house, old lady, and she's actually the grandmother of a young lady that Virginia works with. She's a single mom. She was a single mom when she was 16 years old. By the time she was 18, she had 2 children, and the state finally took them away, left them with her no good for nothing, do nothing boyfriend, the baby daddy, and now he's in jail for having abused the one little boy, and so he's in jail. But the state has him because they couldn't get a hold of her because the people who knew who she was and where she might be had 4 or 5 different phone numbers for her, and none of them seemed to be working, which the state said that's not responsible.
That's a good.
So
that's a good point.
That's the kind of people we've been working with. Some of them work locally. This is specifically Virginia, and this is her grand folks, and we've gotten to know them. And so her brother died. Old fella, he'd been in a nursing home for a bit, but nobody else. Who's going to do the funeral? It was weirdest thing. So they had the box. It wasn't even a nice wooden box or nothing. It was just a plastic box that the crematorium give you to put it in, and it's just a plastic box, and we went out in the yard. There was seven people there, plus my wife and I and my two kids, and we just sat up a few chairs out there, and we reminisced a bit, and I read some scripture and gave them the gospel. I said, "This is, Uncle Bill's where he's going to be."
Now, where is he going to be at?
That's why I've always managed to avoid these situations. All the advice from the local pastors, they said, you just don't talk about that.
I'm so glad you said that. Oh, Paul,
you just don't talk about that. Because the reality is he's where he's going to be. The question at this moment in time, is where are you going?
Where are you going to?
Do you know your Creator?
Let me let you hear the song. Here's one of my songs. Did you know it's appointed every man one day to die? You must realize that when you die, your spirit lives forever. Eternally you will reside in heaven or hell. You must decide. So that's why I'm asking you, do you know where you will go? Oh, when you die. When you die. And that's on the first album.
Okay.
And I did two versions of it. On the first album and on the second album. You guys got those.
Okay. Yep.
And it's so funny that you said that, because I hate the sidestepping of that question in any funeral.
Because it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
But you know what? That is what we have been left on this earth for. If he loved me,
give me some.
If he loved me, he would take me with him. He wants to be with.
Enoch was not.
Yeah.
I just Enoch myself.
Yep, yeah. But he left us here because we are his hands and feet to share that good news that this is not all that it was. And that's what I got to share at that funeral. We all know. We know that Uncle Bill, now in their mind, they get this idea that Uncle Bill is kind of watching us, or his spirit is present and things. And we got to talk afterwards a lot with the family about demonic spirits and seeing things and all that sort of stuff. The reality of the spiritual. We know that there is something more to this life. The question is, what is it? And one day you're going to find out.
Yeah.
One day, so you need to know. Yeah. So that's why God left us here. That's why He left us here. We cannot sidestep those conversations, those situations. We have to open our mouth. That's what He left us here for. Otherwise, we're just plain old being selfish and worthless soldiers. Worthless soldiers.
Your shirt is an amazing shirt. It says, I've been selected for service.
Yeah.
Let me see. I have chosen you.
That you should go and bring forth fruit.
Yes.
John 15:16.
And that bottom, it says rule.
It says Bible Impact Ministries. This is our first ministry.
BIP.
Yeah. No, BIM. Bible Impact.
Bible
BIM.
Not Bible Impact.
It's M.
Impact.
BI Ministries.
So BIM.
BIM. Yeah, it didn't sound good. We liked AMF. That was a ministry that we grew up with, American Missionary Fellowship. AMF.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was nice. And then they changed the name to In Faith, and everybody goes, if. I don't think people in the home office thought about that. But that wasn't our decision to make.
That wasn't a decision.
You want to call it if, I guess.
That was a boogie figure.
That's what we'll do.
See, that's kind of what my wife with Valerie. She wanted for our children to have acronyms that made sense.
Oh.
Cause so Valerie, now that she's married, it's VOW.
Okay.
So doggone it, you made a vow. VOW. I love it. So, and then the two children, NEW, new. You'll always be new. Wait a minute, is it raining?
It is. It's good now. It's coming down pretty nicely. Where's that?
I was going to jog for a second. I'm not jogging nowhere right now in the rain.
No, you ain't. But it's 1 o'clock. You got a little while yet.
I know.
But I would say you might consider the next time it quits.
Yeah.
Maybe getting on the road, because you don't know when
Yeah.
that might happen. The closer you get to 2 o'clock, the harder it's going to get.
I know.
Get back on something.
Messed up. Well, guess what? You put me in a good position today, Paul. Do you know I have so much audio and video that it's so hard to wade through all of it. That now I got one right at the top of the list.
All right.
I'm gonna have this one published today.
All right.
Especially since I'm not gonna have the children this afternoon.
All right. There you are.
Let me go inside and see what the babies are doing.
All right.
Thank you, Paul, for giving me some crystal clear. Ooh, you gave me some good stuff today. Paul, as always.